Hello, Blue Jays fans, and welcome back to another video. It seems that the Blue Jays are really making a lot of moves this offseason, which is amazing if you're a Blue Jays fan. But man, oh man, after picking up people like Dylan Cease, Cody Ponce, and Tyler Rogers, the Blue Jays said we're not done here and have decided to pick up that wonderful man from Japan, Kazuma Okamoto. So this begs a lot of questions on what's going to happen to people like Bo Bichette. But of course, we're really excited to have a veteran like Okamoto now joining the team in Canada. So Brandon, as always, let's get your thoughts on this. What do you think this means that now Kazuma Okamoto is headed to Canada?
Yeah, this is look, just at a face value. This is a nice signing. We've talked about Okamoto here on the site and other sites before. He's an excellent hitter, a bit of a lower ceiling, higher floor guy than Munetaka Murakami, who took a 2-year deal with the Chicago White Sox earlier this offseason. He's a very patient hitter. He does not strike out a ton. Obviously, those will fluctuate as he makes the transition from the NPB to the MLB. But we know that he's a very, very high floor hitter. He's sturdy. He had a 210 WRC plus in 2025. He's a great power hitter. He's had a 40 homer season. He's hit 30 plus home runs in almost every single season in his career in the NPB. So this is a very sturdy guy to have in the middle or the back of the lineup. I think that, beyond just the fact that the Blue Jays got a really good price on him, which has been happening with all of the big Japanese free agents. The White Sox got Murakami on a 2-year deal. The Astros got Tatsuya Imei on a 3-year deal with opt-outs. Now, obviously, the Blue Jays got Okamoto on a 4-year, $60 million deal. There's obviously fallout to discuss with Bo Bichette here, which we'll talk about in a minute. Obviously, this probably takes them out of the Alex Bregman market. What does this mean for the playing time for guys like Ernie Clement and other players on the roster? So there's a lot to discuss here, but at face value, this is just another really solid move in a long line of really solid moves from the Blue Jays this winter. And it's really positive to see that, obviously there's been issues in the past with the Blue Jays reeling in the big free agent targets and getting their top guys. That has not been the case this offseason. They made the World Series, they almost won the whole thing, and they've made it very, very clear this offseason that like they're here to stay, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, it's really excited to see after picking up so many players that out of every team that had their eye on Okamoto, that he was going to end up with the Blue Jays. So I'm really excited to see what the front office and the dugout has in plan for, like you said, where he's going to end up in the lineup. He's a power hitting threat. Again, we've talked about on many sites that kind of opposite to Munetaka Murakami. He's kind of, being an older player, he's, a little bit more akin to different pitching styles. So I'm really excited to also see him in the infield defensively, how he does, especially going up against teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees, who are so like we saw in 2025, especially in the World Series, so aggressive at the plate. So it'll be really interesting to see in the American League how he does. But I'm also very curious to see, like we're going to mention here, what's going to happen to Bo Bichette. Is he going to go to a different team? Is he going to stay? Are we going to use him as a bargaining chip? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's tough to say right now, obviously. The Blue Jays have been considered the favorite for Bo Bichette all offseason just because obviously they have a strong relationship. Again, Bo Bichette was so instrumental in them making the World Series this year. And then obviously he had that really clutch Game 7 home run that very nearly mattered a lot. But obviously, the Blue Jays have spent a lot of money. When they signed Dylan Cease, now a couple months ago, you and I openly pondered, does the $200 million contract for him, will the Blue Jays really give out another one to Bichette? I think now that Okamoto's in town, that question really has to be doubled down on. Not only, the Blue Jays have the money to do it, it's just, are they going to be willing to spend that kind of capital on multiple guys in the same offseason while bringing in Cody Ponce and Kazuma Okamoto? And then just from a roster standpoint, the infield is full. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. obviously is the first baseman. Ernie Clement's probably going to be the starting second baseman, though that'll probably flip over. And then, Andres Jimenez is the shortstop, and we assume Okamoto is going to play at third base. Obviously, his glove is questionable there, so maybe he'll get some time at second. Maybe he'll get some time at DH or first. It remains to be seen how the whole, picture, pans itself out. But Bichette does not seamlessly fit into this picture anymore, and so it's a question of, did the Blue Jays aggressively push for Okamoto at the end of his posting window, not just because the price was, because the value was there, but because they don't feel confident that Bichette is going to return.
Yeah, it's a really weird kind of like limbo that Bo Bichette is sitting in, and it's possible that we're very close to seeing that Bo Bichette is on his way somewhere else. That news could break at any moment. And again, we're not saying anything right now, but again, after this Okamoto signing, it very much seems like if Bo Bichette for some reason returns to Canada, there will be a logjam that happens in the infield, and we're
Mhm.
very aware of those kind of things happening to different teams like the outfield of the Boston Red Sox when people like Roman Anthony came about. So it's very interesting to see what will happen to Bo Bichette. But I think that at the end of the day, this is a good problem to have for the Blue Jays because having a lot of good players is nothing short of a miracle in baseball. So I welcome to the team, Kazuma Okamoto. We are so happy to have you. I'm so excited to see what happens in 2026. Having him on a 4-year deal is great. Of course, we have to worry about the lockout, but for now, we're going to celebrate in 2026 and see what happens from there. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you excited to see what happens with Kazuma Okamoto? Are you worried to see what's going to happen to Bo Bichette? As always, let us know in the comments, and we will be responding to every single one.